Welcome back on deynonmod. Today I want to propose you a video about
Having started a couple of years ago, here's the rating for the White Dwarf that were released this time in 2025. I must admit that it was quite difficult to put up some positions since in many cases it was more a personal reflection. I would be curious to know what you think, by the way. You can write me about your own rating in the comments and maybe even if you have generally enjoyed this year's publications. In the last position, 12th, there is WEDAF 511 of April 2025. This WEDAF is practically 40k themed and is the first of 4 themed issues for each of the Chaos God for Warhammer 40k. This one in particular is Slaanesh themed and is the one of all 4 that I put down the list as the lowest because it's really overly loaded with the futuristic part, leaving little room for the Age of Sigmar. As for House, this contains the second part of the Flashpoint Yashka. For 40k part, for those interested in the Slaanesh, it is very interesting since it deals with it in several aspects regarding the Emperor Shield with combat path and dedicated boarding action, and the Elders with a showcase and battle report between the two armies. It's also a way to celebrate the release of the first Warhammer 40k codex dedicated exclusively for the Emperor Chidan, so it might be as well be. In general, it is a wide up that it's very rich in information but very monothematic. At the 11th position, there is Dwarf 515 of August 2025. This is a Dwarf that is basically just Space Marine themed. Probably you had to recover from the previous 4 issues dedicated to the Chaos Gods, or maybe it wanted to celebrate the success of the video game Space Marine 2, since a lot of the material inside is related to that setting, almost certainly both. As for House, there is little or nothing here. An interesting article about the Horned Rat and the story that anticipates the release of the Esmith of Shoot or Chaos Stars. On the Warhammer 40k side, we have a guide about how to create your own chapter, really good for the ones that want to start an army of Space Marines. Warzone Bastion, the setting where the events of the Space Marine 2 happen, and Space Marine Operation take place, which is a variant of the boarding action to recreate the events of the video game itself. There are also rules for playing the Kill Team with the Space Marine 2 setting. Also interesting is the part celebrating the release of the 4th edition of Horus Heresy Saturnine. There is both an article about the genesis of the Space Marines and also a look at the models of the setbox. But the real highlight of this WDAF is the poster of the Space Marine Mark Armors, the only poster that I ever hung. In general, it's a really good White Dwarf, but the monothematic nature of the issue has made me climb down several places. I decided not to consider the presence of the poster for the position because it's on the one hand a shut up and take my money for the poster. Excluding the poster itself, I'm not so convinced that it's as I'd like to see, and it should be a White Dwarf in my opinion. In 10th position, there is White Dwarf 519 of December 2025. This is a issue that made me a lot upset. Cheap shipment ruined it, and it has also seen a price increase with no clear warning. The content itself, it is not bad. On the outside, we had the presentation of Warhammer Quest Darkwater, which I talked about in the Warhammer World Championship vlog of November 2025, and here it gives interviews to game developers, how the game works, and also the battle report. For those who want to understand how the game works as well as appreciate the beautiful miniature included, especially from Nargol, it's very interesting. If you're interested, you will also list legend rules for playing the charters of the Order included, rules that you can find in the Warhammer community. We also have the painting guides for the Esmith of Shoot and the splendid armies for the 4 Warlords section. On 40k side, we find the diagrams on how to choose a new army to start, a showcase of models of the Astra Militarum, and some interesting information about the Golden Throne. The final article on Christmas-themed conversion is also pleasant. In general, this WDAF will not be bad, especially since it has a lot of diversified content and modelist themed. But I find it subdued compared to the average, and the price increase definitely made me lower it further in the ranking. I therefore included in the last position. In the 9th position, there is White Dwarf 509 of February 2025. This month White Dwarf is slightly more 40k themed, but it's generally quite balanced. For Age of Sigmar we have examples to create characters, models and their lore using the envies of Apotheosis, and have to admit that I have a soft spot for this system, even going into a dedicated battle report. The Warhammer 40k part features the rules for Imperial Knights, Loyalists and Chaotic Combat Pathos, as well as the background and painting of the Death Corps of Kriegs, as well as a showcase of Sons of Horus models for Horus Heresy. A Great White Dwarf also this more hobbyistic but definitely appreciable. In 8th position there is White Dwarf 510 of March 2025. This White Dwarf features a cover and a massive presence of Middle-earth articles for The Lord of the Rings, not among my favorites, but essentially welcome among fans. Age of Sigmar also features a new flashpoint, Yashka, which delves into the orcs and offers an army of renown for the Iron Suns, but remember that it's legend, which is really intriguing for the reported lore. Warhammer 40k sees the aspect of war optional additional match play rules that add to a showcase and a combat battle for the Eldar. And I also recommend that you look at the bunker section as it shows alter vehicles for a mini racing game that starts in the January White Dwarf, but which, regardless of any rules, certainly give a lot inspiration for various modifications. In general, I think that it's an interesting issue, although I found the part of Warhammer 40k slightly subdued compared to the rest. And then we can start with the middle part of this rating with the 7th position, White Dwarf 514 of July 2025. This is the last of the White Dwarf for the Chaos Gods, and it's about Tzeentch. It's a issue that leads to a little bit better knowledge of mystic intrudes. Outside deepens the rivalry between Tzeentch and Nargon, and also brings a new army of renown that is discovered by Fuck to be legend, like all the other releases in the magazine. Side 40k brings combat battle to the Thousand Sons and warp part of aspects of war, and it also adds a little bit of Eldar to showcase with Thousand Sons. This time, a pleasant surprise is also included additional information regarding the Katai in the Old World given the arrival of the second wave of related models. This is fairly peculiar by Dwarf, but I would still say pleasant. In 6th position, there is White Dwarf 513 of June 2025. This White Dwarf is one of the most balanced yet thematic but varied, as it deals with Khorne on both the Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40k sides. For House, the clash between Khorne and Strange is so deep that it is manifested in a battle report, and the story about Gorgoskul that we have known since the first edition of House is interesting as he ascended to a Demon Prince during the Dawnbringer Crusades. On the 40k side, we can find the new combat battle rules and the Khorne theme aspect of war, and different Minotaurs models side for both 40k and Horus Heresy. Definitely a great White Dwarf. In 5th position, instead we find White Dwarf 517 of October 2025. Here we have a rather peculiar issue, focusing mainly on scenic feature and setting, really a lot of ideas and suggestions on how to make them. On the house side we find air combat with dedicated rules, and it's a pleasant one, definitely worth a try. The presence of the Warfront Ida, set in Shamon, should not be underestimated either, and we can consider a minor version of Tondia. On the 40k side we have the Tau, but above all the possibility of racing between cavalry and motorcycles, as well as the presentation of the new master chapter of the Ravengard, Ashton Shan. In addition to Kill Team, there are the rules for different ways of playing with the Necrons that are interesting to read because of their background by itself. We also have a battle report from Middle-earth. In general, we can say that it is a very good White Dwarf, very well balanced, varied and complete. In 4th position, there is White Dwarf 518 of November 2025. This is the issue of celebration for the 50 years of the Games Workshop. The internal articles about the history of the Games Workshop since the beginning are very interesting. I mean that I would prefer anyway to have an issue entirely devoted to the subject. As for house, we can find the chariot race really interesting, plus the presence of the estimate of a shoot or co-stars, who have their Batatom officially released this November. For the 40k side, there are articles on the Boulder or Requiem, the Battle Report, and updated mission for the first edition's set boxes of the Warhammer 40k, and this White Dwarf in general really is interesting, and this undoubtedly play for the photo finish for the first place. And then it's time for the podium. Sincerely had quite trouble to choose which one put in each position of this, because I think that they were really quite comparable as options, so it's only about my opinion about. So in third position there is White Dwarf 516 of September 2025. This is a issue that was much important for the Games Workshop as it celebrated the 10 years of Age of Sigmar, released in 2015. I would have expected a monothematic issue in this regard, especially after seeing the White Dwarf of the previous months very rich in Warhammer 40k. This is not the case. If we remove the celebration factor, it's a great product. On the house side, we find many interesting articles on the development of the house background, with an interesting intervention also by Gumbrindal about the various house deities. On side 40k, we have articles about the League of Wotan and a in-depth look at one of them, Barn Arnissen, which is a very great way to get to know them better. To which we add bets for Aspect of War, which I hope that it will never be included in the official rules, and also Horus Heresy to complete. In general, it's really a good White Dwarf, but that's a flaw in the fact that it should be more focused on house and had to celebrate the decade in theory. In second position, there is White Dwarf 508 of January 2025. This is a issue that I particularly enjoyed starting the year, as it includes the third and last part of Flashpoint Lattice, with the Siege of Lattice itself by an army that I love, the Ossier Boribus. However, the presence of two new combat battles for Warhammer 40k and the Kalnat Expanse lore is also interesting. And for 40k, there's also a part to do the races with rigged and modified cars, and interesting incipit. There is also a showcase of armies for the Old World and the Daughters of Cain for Age of Sigmar, and in general I would say that it's a very good White Dwarf content, and I preferred to have it climb some position upwards. And first place, drum roll, okay, the only one that remains, so there is White Dwarf 512 of May 2025. This is a really wonderful issue. From the core we celebrate the release of the Death Guard Codex 40k, but it doesn't monopolize all the contents as we saw for Epis with Slanesh. For House, we can see the third part of Flashpoint Yashka with a really great background, as well as suggestion for painting the final opponents of the Oryx, the Undead, about whom you know I have a soft spot. For Warhammer 40k, we find a lot of lore, as well as combat battles dedicated to Nargor, and specific rules also for Aspect of War branded. But above all, this is an issue that must be taken for the modeling side, not only for the splendid armies shown, but above all to be able to admire the works of Roman Lappet inside. Wonderful. As I said, this is my personal ranking, and many positions are practically equal. Overall, 2025 was a very interesting and rich year for the published articles. It is a pity it did not take advantage of the anniversary of the 10 years of House and 50 years of Game Workshop, which I believe could have had even more characterization. In general, however, I am satisfied with the past year, and I look rather closely at what it is to come. Although the fall in style due to the price increase was not pleasant at all. How did you find the content last year? Would you have preferred something different? How would you have set up your personal ranking? Write in the comment. So, from deynonmod it's everything. I invite you to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell so to receive notification about new video, to comment under here about this video, or if you want to suggest me new videos. So, I hope to see you again to the next time.